In the middle of a waterless desert in Kazakhstan, dozens of rusting ships lie stranded in the sand, hundreds of miles from the nearest sea. This was once a thriving fishing coast. Across this republic, the Soviet Union ran its most secret experiments, then abandoned them to the wasteland. These are 8 of them, and they get darker as we count down. Kazakhstan was the empire's backyard, vast, remote, and almost empty. Here the USSR tested its bombs, hid its secret cities, and launched its rockets far from the eyes of the world. When the Union collapsed, most of it was simply left behind. We begin at number 8. Number 8, the ghost fleet of the Aral Sea. Until the 1960s, this was one of the largest lakes on Earth, and the town of Aralsk lived off its fish. Trawlers worked its waters, and canneries fed the whole region. Then the Soviets diverted its rivers to grow cotton in the desert. In a few decades, the sea simply vanished. 60,000 square kilometers of water gone. The fishing fleet was left to rot where the waves used to be, and the sea has never come back. Number 7 sits on what used to be an island in that sea. Vozrojdeniya Island held one of the Soviet Union's darkest secrets. Aralsk and Ham-7, a hidden laboratory for testing biological weapons. Here they tested plague, smallpox, and anthrax in the open air and buried tons of live anthrax spores in the ground. Then came the nightmare. As the Aral Sea dried up, the island grew into the mainland, turning a sealed secret into a place anyone could simply walk to. Number 6, an airfield in the middle of nowhere. This was a base for the Soviet nuclear bomber fleet. Enormous runways and reinforced shelters, built to launch a nuclear strike at a moment's notice. Today, the runways are cracked and silent, and the hangars stand empty. Number 5 is a lake that should not exist. In 1965, Soviet scientists detonated a nuclear bomb underground to blast out a crater, an experiment to build instant reservoirs using atomic weapons. The crater filled with water, and they named it Lake Chagin. Locals call it the Atomic Lake. Half a century later, the lake is still radioactive, and yet, astonishingly, people come here to swim and to fish, standing on the rim of a man-made nuclear crater in water that will stay contaminated for generations. Number 4 is the reason that lake exists. The Semipalatinsk Polygon was the Soviet Union's main nuclear testing ground, a stretch of steppe the size of a small country where the empire blew up its weapons for 40 years. 456 nuclear bombs were detonated here. But the darkest part is who lived nearby. More than 1 million people in the surrounding villages were never moved and never warned. And Soviet doctors quietly studied the radiation's effects on them, as if on an experiment. Number 3, the city that ran it all. To operate the polygon, the Soviets built a secret town of 50,000 people on the bank of a river, scientists, soldiers, and their families living in comfort right beside the bombs. But the city had no name. On every Soviet map, it was a blank space. In the post, it was only a number. Semipalatinsk and 21. Officially, the place and the 50,000 people inside it did not exist. It was erased before it was ever finished. Number 2, the birthplace of the space age. From the launch pads of the Baikonur Cosmodrome, the Soviet Union sent up the first satellite, the first man, and the first woman ever to leave the Earth. This empty steppe is where humanity first reached space. Gagarin's launch pad still stands, but much of the rest is rusting away. Across the Cosmodrome, abandoned assembly halls and toppled rockets litter the steppe, the bones of a space program the country that built it could no longer afford. And number 1, the empire's grandest dream, abandoned in the dark. Behind the locked doors of a crumbling hangar at Baikonur sit 2 Soviet space shuttles, the Buran program, the USSR's answer to NASA, built to rival the world. One Buran flew just once in 1988, flawlessly and entirely without a pilot, a feat the Americans never matched. Then the money ran out and it was locked away. In 2002, the hangar roof collapsed on top of it, destroying the only shuttle that ever flew and killing the workers inside. 8 places where a superpower tested its weapons, hid its secrets, and reached for the stars, then vanished and left it all to the Kazakh desert. The steppe is slowly taking it back. Next time, the abandoned sanatoriums and Soviet resorts rotting in the mountains of Georgia. Subscribe, and we'll take you behind the wire.